There never seems to be a dull weekend in the Championship, and this time absolutely everything kicked off. We had Jack Grealish being assaulted by a Birmingham fan, we saw Darren Moore being sacked by West Brom, and some other really topsy-turvy results in the Championship. So as always, do let me know in the comments down below, what did you make of all this weekend's action? As well as that, we've also got some midweek games coming up in the Championship, which we will be predicting at the second half of this video, and we have got a lot of talking points to go over this weekend. If you did go on to enjoy the video, make sure you do leave a like, it is always massively appreciated. Before we do get into talking about any of the individual games, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you guys did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct, then I will include them on screen now. I managed to get one of mine correct this weekend. That was a derby against Sheff Wednesday game. It's not too bad going from me, but without further ado, let's hop into talking about some of these games. And so we'll start out by going over Friday night's game between Norwich and Swansea City, where it was the home side who just walked away with a 1-0 victory. Norwich weren't the best for this game, and I actually thought for the vast majority of it, Swansea were playing the better football actually. There were some really nice passing combinations for the first half, up until the point where Norwich eventually scored. Swansea had the better chances for this one. Daniel James with his little burst of acceleration is absolutely impossible to keep up with, and Tim Krul had to be forced into a couple of saves. Norwich had a couple of chances in that first half, although couldn't really carve apart Swansea. Timu Pukki had a decent chance when he was slipped through by Emi Buendia, but that chance just went wide. In the second half though, Norwich did click up a gear, and what a goal it was by Emi Buendia. Some nice work down the left hand side from Onel Hernandez. He pulled the ball back for Buendia, and then an absolute rifling finish into the back of the net, which the Swansea keeper stood absolutely no chance with. I've praised Buendia through pretty much every video lately I've done, but I think it would be fair to say that Emi Buendia is that sort of player who would walk into any side in the Championship. He was absolutely fantastic to watch, and that goal just sums up his quality. After that, both sides had more chances, but in the end it was 1-0 how the game did finish. I thought that Swansea got a little bit unfortunate not to get anything out of this game, as I thought they put in quite a good account of themselves. You could tell that they were missing a player like Ollie McBurney perhaps in the final third at times to just add that little bit more quality in the final third, but I thought Swansea gave a good account of themselves. But a big 3 points for Norwich in that game as they continue at the top of the Championship. And then we had Preston beating Blackburn Rovers 1-0 away from home to keep our slim playoff hope dreams alive for the time being. But for this game, for the majority of it, I didn't think Preston were particularly good actually. Blackburn had the majority of the ball for this one. The majority of the play was inside the Preston half. We weren't really that dynamic going forward for this game, but really we scored with our only decent chance of the game, and that came just 8 minutes in. It was a fantastically worked goal. Building out from the back, there was about 6 passes in the build up to it. Lucas Nemecha was released down the right hand side. He pulled the ball back for Daniel Johnson, and he coolly slotted into the back of the net to make it 1-0 to Preston. After that, Blackburn did have a lot of opportunities for this game. Declan Rudd popped up with some big saves. They were getting a lot of balls coming into the box, but I thought we dealt with them quite well. Jordan Storey and Ben Davis both played excellently for this one, dealing with someone like Danny Graham. And Blackburn's bad run of form continues in the Championship. They were just looking a little bit limp for this one. I don't know what it is with Bradley Dack at the moment, but he's not looking like his usual self the past month or so. He's not really looked at it. Blackburn did have a goal disallowed in the second half. Danny Graham racing through on goal, but he pushed Jordan Storey and that one was ruled out. To add to that, Preston also had a man sent off later on in this one, Donald Fisher, for picking up 2 yellow cards, but by that point Preston were already looking like we would hold out the result. It is something that Blackburn need to sort out at the moment. They're on a terrible run of form in the Championship, and they really could have done with getting something from this game. In terms of Preston point of view, to not play that well and pick up all 3 points, I think is a very good omen for us going forward. And we got Borough in midweek, and that's a very big game for us now. And then we had Sheff Utd beating Rotherham by 2-0, with United just keeping that pressure on the top 2 at the moment. But it was quite a convincing performance. They took the lead after just 5 minutes through Jack O'Connell. A nicely worked set piece move, the ball coming in from Ollie Norwood, and then O'Connell just sweeping it into the back of the net. Soon after that, things got much worse for Rotherham as they were down to 10 men. Will Vokes getting sent off in the 28th minute. Probably been one of their best, if not their best players so far this season, and for him to get a straight red card and miss the next 3 matches could have serious consequences for Rotherham. I can see why the red card was given. It was a little bit of a rash challenge. It's the sort of thing that Ben Pearson lunges into every now and again, and unless you time that sort of tackle to absolute perfection, the referee's always going to get the red card out. After that moment, Sheff Utd continued to create chances in this game, and if it wasn't for Rodak, the Rotherham goalkeeper, this really could have been a much higher scoreline. He popped up with some massive saves in the second half, but eventually Sheff Utd managed to get their second goal of the game. Mark Duffy scoring a fantastic goal from just outside the box, that one arrowing into the top corner. But overall, a good 3 points for the Sheff Utd side, who continue ticking over near the top of the Championship. In terms of Rotherham though, with some of the other results going on this weekend in the Championship, and to be losing a player like Vokes for the next few games, that's going to be quite a big blow for them. And speaking about teams at the bottom of the Championship, we have Bolton beating Millwall by 2-1, and Millwall really do find themselves in quite a perilous position in the Championship at this point in time. They're only 1 point above the relegation zone at the moment, and they're not not keeping clean sheets at the moment, and scoring goals from open play has been a real problem for them for the majority of this season so far. So I'll be interested to get some Millwall fans' perspectives on what's your opinion on Neil Harris at the moment and the job that he's currently doing at the club. Speaking about this game, it really burst into life in the second half when Paolo Olkowski gave Bolton the lead. Quite a nicely placed finish goal actually, just sweeping into the back of the net. And then not too long after that, Bolton managed to double their advantage through Gary O'Neill scoring a goal on a counter-attack. And if someone like Gary O'Neill at the age of 35 is able to get in behind your defence and score a goal on the counter-attack, weaving in and out of a couple of players, you know you've got problems. But it was a really nicely taken goal by O'Neill. After that, Millwall did get a goal back in the later stages of this one through Lee Gregory, but by that point Bolton had really already secured all 3 points. Bolton are still 5 points away from safety. I think it would still be a bit too much for them to be surviving this season, but it is good to see that they knocked down tools and they're not just taking relegation lying down. Millwall, on the other hand, though, I fear for them at the moment. And then we had Leeds beating Bristol City by 1-0. A big 3 points for that for Leeds, really. Ashton Gate's been quite a tough place to go to so far this season. Bristol City were never really creating much for this one, actually. I think the whole flow of the game wasn't really set up for both sides to be creating a lot of chances, really. But Leeds took the lead just 9 minutes into this one. A long ball coming in to Luke Ayling on the right-hand side. He heads the ball across the box, and Patrick Bamford is there to just touch it across the line and make it 1-0 to Leeds United. Bristol City did have some chances to get back into the game. Jeju had a good chance in the first half when he linked up with Jamie Patterson and Marlon Pack. He had the ball in a good position, but just took too long to release the shot. Matty Taylor also had a half chance in the second half where he tried to lift the ball over Kiko Casilla, but he just couldn't get the elevation on it, and in the end it was quite a comfortable save. But Leeds were able to hold out for all 3 points, which has seen them get back-to-back wins in the Championship now, and at the top of the table at the moment, it is seriously close. And then we had Derby drawing 1-1 with Sheffield Wednesday. This result does take Derby back into the top 6 in the Championship, but at the moment that 6th spot is really wide open. There's only 5 points separating Derby in 6th and Hull City in 11th, so any of the teams in between that could really put a late run together and make it into the 6th spot. But for this one, Derby took the lead through Bradley Johnson. Bit of poor defending from Sheffield Wednesday, the ball coming into the back of the box, and Bradley Johnson was unmarked. It was a very nice header in the end, actually, to just get it into the top corner. I think it was Hutchinson from Sheffield Wednesday who had lost his man for that goal. And Sheffield Wednesday equalised in quite a similar way, actually. It was Dominic Iorfa who was left unmarked to make it 1-1 for the away side. After that, both sides continued to create chances. Sheffield Wednesday did have the ball in the back of the net through Sam Winnell, although he had looked to kick the ball out of Scott Carlson's hands. He did have 2 hands on it, so that goal was rightly ruled off. And then for the last 10 or 15 minutes for this game, Derby were really pushing for the winner for this one. Scott Malone almost scored an absolute worldie of a volley, but that one came off the post. Westwood for Sheffield Wednesday also popped up with some big saves later on to keep the away side in the game, and on reflection, probably was 2 points dropped for Derby. But like I said, at this point in time, that 6th position is really left wide open. And then we have Brentford beating Middlesbrough away from home. Getting all 3 points away from home has been quite a rare occurrence for this Brentford side so far, but a terrific 3 points win in this game, which has lifted them back into the top half of the Championship. It was the home side who took the lead early on in this game, though. Just 6 minutes in, it was Mo Besic with the original shot, which was parried away by Daniel Bentley. Fletcher was then there to pounce on it to make it 1-0 to Borough. And in a lot of games so far this season, when Middlesbrough do go 1-0 up at home, they tend to close out the game, and maybe Tony Pulis actually got it wrong in the second half. He brought off a Sombolonga for George Friend. Looked like he obviously wanted to just hold on to this 1-0, not push for any more goals. But I'm not sure that was probably the wisest thing to do, going up against a Brentford side who loves to retain possession and work teams around and slowly breaking them down. Eventually, Brentford did get back into the game through an own goal from Ryan Shotton. The ball was just flashed across the box and Shotton put it into the back of his own net. And then just 3 minutes after that, Ben Rama managed to make it 2 onto the away side, and they completely flipped this game on its head. That goal from Ben Rama was actually a really nicely worked goal. It was Romain Soyes from a deep line playmaker position, picking out a ball on the right hand side. The ball was flashed back across, and then Ben Rama slotted it in at the near post. This result has lifted Brentford up to the top half of the table, and although Middlesbrough are sat 5th in the Championship at the moment, there isn't that much breathing space between them and dropping out at the moment, so they need to make sure they bounce back from this soon. And then we had Forest beating Hull by 3-0, and the race for the top 6 is really, it's going to go to the final day. I'm in no doubt about that. With how many teams are currently vying for that position at the moment, this result just leaves Forest 2 points off the playoffs at the moment, and it really is a fascinating watch. But the player who came on for Forest and looked to change the game for them was João Carvalho. Why he's not a starter in this Forest side, I just can't wrap my head around. I know that he doesn't quite fit into this system under Martin O'Neill, but surely you look to accommodate the system around the player as good as Carvalho. When he came on, he gave Forest the lead in the 72nd minute. The ball just sat up for him perfectly outside the box, and he rifled it home, edging in off the post. And there's no doubt that when he's in the mood, he can be one of the most influential attacking midfielders in the Championship. After that point, Hull started to open up defensively, and Nottingham Forest really seized their opportunity. Joe Lilly had a shot from outside the box, which came off the post. That was then followed in, and then not too long after that, they had a penalty, which Joe Lilly managed to slot in to make it 3-0. Not the best result for Hull City, who are now sat 5 points away from the playoffs. I think that their away record has been what's costed them lately. They've been conceding quite a few goals away from home. But a nice way to finish the game for Forest in that one, whose next game will be against Aston Villa, and that will be a really good indication of where this Forest side is at the moment. And our only goalless draw of the weekend came at Loftus Road between QPR and Stoke City. Probably the biggest talking point from this game was the red card shown to Sam Clucas. Absolute idiocy from Clucas, getting sent off only 8 minutes into this game. The referee had just blown up for a foul given for handball, and then with Clucas stood directly in front of the referee, he decides to stamp on Josh Scowen, and it's absolutely obvious that he does it, and is rightly shown the red card. And from that point onwards, Stoke couldn't quite get a grasp into the game going forward. They had to readjust their shape a little bit. That allowed QPR to have the majority of the ball, although neither side could really create a lot of clear-cut chances for this one. A lot of them were sort of speculative long-range efforts. Neither goalkeeper really had to pull off a string of impressive saves for this one, and you could see it heading towards a goalless draw. And QPR also ended this men with 10 men as Grant Hall was sent off in the second half for a second bookable offence. So overall finishing as a goalless draw, not the best game of the weekend. But our next game was absolutely bonkers, which saw Reading beat Wigan by 3 goals to 2. This result has meant that Reading have gone above Wigan in the table now, and Wigan find themselves in a bit of a perilous position at the moment, it has to be said. Wigan, on reflection, really shouldn't have lost this game. They took the lead after 20 minutes, quite a slick counter-attacking move which saw Nick Powell finish it off. Reading levelled things up before half-time with John Swift scoring a very nice free kick, but Wigan once again took the lead in the second half after quite an acrobatical assist from Nick Powell saw Joe Garner give Wigan a 2-1 lead. And even when Wigan did go 2-1 up, it wasn't as if they were just going to sit off Reading and hold out for what they had. They tried to kill off the game by getting that third goal, and if it wasn't for a couple of big saves from Martinez, this result would have been completely different. For the final few stages, Reading had to push absolutely everything they had at Wigan, and then out of nowhere, Modou Barrow scores an absolutely outrageous goal from about 25 yards out, rifling it into the bottom corner and making it 2-2. And you're thinking there that a point in all given circumstances isn't a bad result for Reading, but then in the 97th minute they get a corner, and Yaku Mete is the player who steps up and gives Reading all 3 points. I have to say, they look like they were scenes at the Majeski at full time, as that is an absolutely monumental 3 points for them. Over the last few weeks, there has been a lot more positivity around Reading as a whole, really, and I think that that result really could go and propel them up for the rest of the season now. There is still only 3 points between themselves and the relegation zone, but they have gone above both Millwall and Wigan, so there is that little bit more of a buffer now for them. So a massive 3 points for them, and Wigan really need to bounce back in midweek against Blackburn. And then we had West Brom drawing 1-1 with Ipswich Town, the game which has seen Darren Moore sacked by West Brom. We'll talk about the game briefly for a moment. We had Johansson taking the lead for West Brom thanks to a deflected free kick just 4 minutes into this one. West Brom not quite at the same tempo they've been at throughout the season really for this one. Ipswich I thought gave a good account of themselves. Bilkowski did have to come up with some saves for Ipswich, but in the second half John Nolan got Ipswich back into the game. And like I said, I thought the away side gave a good account of themselves. They pressed well off the ball, and they did cause West Brom a couple of problems. But obviously the big news to come out from this one was that Darren Moore was sacked by West Brom. With them currently sat 4th in the Championship, that obviously is deemed not good enough by them at the moment. West Brom obviously had targets of reaching the top 2 in the Championship, and while that's not impossible, it is looking quite unlikely. I think at the moment it probably is a 3-horse race for the top 2. But I have to say, I was completely astounded that West Brom made the decision to sack him at this point of the season with only 10 games to go. At the moment, Jukanovic, the ex-Fulham manager, is the favourite for the job at the moment, and I mean, West Brom, they're taking quite a big gamble with this. Like I said, I'm completely baffled by the decision. I don't think that West Brom have done the right thing here. They're without a win in 3 games, and that's apparently led to grounds for sacking the manager. Obviously, a loss against Leeds and Sheffield United and a draw against Ipswich. And I know there are other factors coming into this. The fact that their home record's not been very good lately. They've obviously struggled a little bit to adapt to life without Harvey Barnes. And defensively, they have been a little bit slack at times so far this season. But only Norwich have scored more goals than this West Brom side so far this season. And if you look at where the other 2 clubs that were relegated last season from the Premier League are, we got Stoke sat in 16th and Swansea sat in 15th. So to sack Darren Moore for doing the current job he's done at West Brom, guiding them to 4th in the Championship, and pretty much guaranteed the playoff spot for them, I think it's absolute lunacy. He's tried to develop a new style at this club, and there's no doubt that West Brom have made this decision to sack Moore in hopes that they do get promoted this season. If West Brom don't go up this season, then things next year could be quite interesting for them, because there's no doubt been the board wanting one thing and Moore wanting another. The things that Moore has implemented this season have looked more towards a long-term direction, whereas the club wants promotion now. So it's a messy situation at West Brom at the moment. I'd be interested to get your guys' opinions on what you make of the sacking. And then on Sunday we had the second City derby, surrounded by controversy as Jack Grealish won it for Aston Villa. Obviously, unfortunately, the main talking points weren't about the football from this one, as that idiot of the Birmingham fan decided to run on the pitch and punch Jack Grealish in the back of the head. What goes through some people's minds at football matches, I've got no idea. I think it's come out since then that the guy's got children as well, so what goes through people's thought processes when deciding to do a thing like that is just completely beyond me. And some of the other stuff that's happened since as well, with tweets being put up about Jack Grealish's brother and everything like that, just overall just disgusting from people like that. But I think it was probably justice for Grealish to go ahead and step up in the end and score the winner for Aston Villa. It was actually a very well taken goal as well. But to add on from that as well, we also had a steward pretty much assaulting Jack Grealish and kicking him in the back of the leg when he jumped into the crowd to celebrate with the Villa fans, and he was taken away by police after the game. So everything was kicking off for this game. And I am by no means the biggest fan of Jack Grealish, but I think that the way he's handled himself in this whole situation has been absolutely fantastic. Birmingham did have a very good chance to get back into it late on, but Gardner's header just went wide. And obviously now the conversation's moved on to what the punishment will be for Birmingham for this incident that has happened. I've seen a few people suggesting that Birmingham should get a points deduction or they should have to play games behind closed doors. I don't think that would be right. I think this sort of thing has happened in the Championship before. If you think back a few years ago, it happened with Chris Kirkland and the Leeds fan. There's obviously no place for that sort of thing in the game at all, but I don't think a points deduction would be the right thing to do. But this result has lifted Aston Villa up to 9th in the Championship, just 4 points away from the playoffs at the moment. So it's definitely Grealish who got the last laugh from this one. But guys, they were all the games that did go on this weekend in the Championship. In terms of my goal of the weekend, in terms of what the goal meant, it probably has to go to Jack Grealish. But in terms of the technique for the goal, I'd probably give it to Modou Barrow. And then for my result of the weekend, I'm probably going to have to give that one to Reading for turning around their game very late on with a 97th minute winner against Wigan Athletic. So do let me know in the comments down below, what did you make of your team's performance this weekend? But we will now move on into my midweek score predictions. So all these games will be listed in the description down below so that you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions. So starting it out with Blackburn going up against Wigan Athletic. Blackburn really need to change their fortunes around sooner rather than later, and although they lost to Preston, I didn't actually think they played that bad. They created a lot of chances, and sooner rather than later, surely their luck has to change. I'm gonna back them for a 2-1 home victory over Wigan, who I haven't really been that impressed by lately. Bristol City going up against Ipswich is an interesting one. Ipswich have given a good account of themselves in a lot of their games recently, but I'll just back City for a 1-0 home victory. The same could be said about Brentford lately as well. Definitely a potential banana skin for Sheff Utd, but with the way they're going at the moment, I'll just back United for a 2-1. Bolton going up against Wednesday. It'll be interesting to see if they can continue their momentum they got against Millwall. I'll back them to get a point from this one. Reading going up against Leeds also feels like a very big game for both sides' seasons, with Reading leaving it very late against Wigan Athletic. This one could be quite a feisty one. I'll just say that Leeds will edge it by 2-1, but Reading could throw a spanner in the works. Birmingham against Millwall. Birmingham will be looking to put that game against Villa behind them as soon as possible, and with Millwall really not impressing me lately, I'll back Blues for a 1-0. Derby going up against Stoke. Stoke without a couple of their key players for this one, so I'll just back Derby for a 2-1. Middlesbrough going up against Preston. Preston's away record has been absolutely tremendous lately in the Championship. I've got a feeling that Pulis is just going to want to close down this game and look to get at least some points on the board, so I'll say it'll be a very slim sort of margins, 1-1. Norwich going up against Hull. Hull away from home lately have been conceding quite a few goals, and with Norwich I think they'll look to get their cutting edge back in this one. I'll say 3-1 Norwich. Forest going up against Villa is a very tough game to call. Ever since Jack Grealish has been back in the picture for Villa, they've been looking like a completely revitalised side, although Forest have been rolling out some decent results lately. 3-0 against Hull in midweek, so for that one I'll say 1-1. QPR going up against Rotherham, a very big game for Rotherham's season, but with them being without Will Vokes, I'll say QPR will win this one 2-1. And then last up we got West Brom going up against Swansea City. Swansea I thought got very unlucky not to get anything against Norwich last time out, and going up against a West Brom side who at the moment when I'm recording are still without a manager. I'm not sure where the mentality of the players will be at for that one. I'll actually back Swansea to just edge that one by 2-1. But guys, there you have it there on my Championship midweek score predictions, so do let me know in the comments down below what do you think is going to happen. But that will now wrap it up for this video, so thank you very much for watching. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure you leave a like, it is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content, but apart from that, thank you very much, and I'll see you all in the next one.